Hello, friends. This is Confessions with Amy, and I'm glad you're visiting my channel. Here we share new confessions every day.
I woke up at 5:17 a.m. with a sharp, piercing pain in my lower abdomen. At first I thought I'd eaten something wrong. Then she said she might have a cold. But 10 minutes later I was curled up on the bathroom floor. And I knew it was something serious. No, not now. I crawled over to the nightstand and grabbed my phone, called 911. While waiting for the ambulance, I checked baby monitor. Liam was curled up asleep, plump hands spread out to the sides, soft breathing. He's only 5, and he's the only thing I really have. I left the instructions to the nanny in my notes. She lives 3 streets down, always on hand. But I couldn't get through. She must have slept through the night. I took a deep breath and dialed my mom's number through the pain. Hello. She answered almost immediately, which surprised me. Mom, I need help right now. I'm on my way to surgery. They took it urgently, appendicitis, but they say with complications. Can you come to Liam's place? He's home alone, but he's sleeping. Pause. Sonorous, almost tangible. Sarah, your father and I are already in the car. We're going to a concert. The tickets. We bought them 3 months ago. This is our gift to each other. We just can't undo it. Are you serious? Mom, I'm going for surgery. My son is alone. I only need a couple of hours until the babysitter arrives or... Honey, I understand, but this is important to us too. Ask someone else. Truth. We have to go now. A short beep. They hung up. I didn't cry. The pain must have already blurred everything into one gray haze. I just stared at the black screen of my phone, and it felt like I was looking into a black hole with no way out anymore. The orderly was polite. A young man named Kevin. He helped me onto the gurney and smiled. You're in good hands. It's going to be all right, Sarah. He didn't know how wrong he was. I was still holding my phone as I was wheeled down the hall to the operating room. The nanny Jenny finally answered. Woke up. I promised to be at the house in 15 minutes. I knew she could handle it, but it wasn't for Liam that I was afraid. I was terrified of the realization. My parents chose a concert. Not my grandson. Not me. Concert. I was put to sleep 3 minutes later, and at the last moment I thought, maybe after this everything will change. Forever. I got out of the hospital 3 days later. I was discharged in the morning around 9:30. Jenny was with Liam as promised. She brought me home and helped me carry my things to my bedroom. I was still moving, as if someone had glued me together from the shards. The sudden movement was a dull ache under the stitches, but the pain inside was much worse. Can you handle it? Jenny asked at the door. I nodded. Call me if you need anything. Even at night. I smiled gratefully. Jenny knew something had happened, but she didn't ask. I was especially grateful to her for that. When the door closed behind her, there was silence. Liam was drawing a dinosaur with 5 legs and a hat in the living room. He ran up to me, hugged me, and buried his face in my stomach, and I couldn't help but close my eyes in pain. Are you still sick? A little. He nodded and went on drawing, quite satisfied. I sat down on the bed. I picked up my phone, opened the banking app. I found automatic transfers to my parents. Each month. Exactly $800. No delays. Stable. Sometimes more if they needed something urgent. Car repairs. New refrigerator. Country house. I clicked cancel auto payment. The app asked again. Are you sure? I stared at the screen as if it were a moral verdict. I was afraid to answer, but I clicked. Yes. A day passed. Then another. Not a single phone call. No message. Nothing. They didn't ask how the operation went. They didn't tell me how Liam was feeling. 0. I wanted to be surprised, but it wasn't. All week I couldn't figure out what exactly hurts more. The seam on my stomach or the gap inside, where there was trust before. Sometimes I imagine them sitting in a theater, clapping their hands, watching a show, and they don't know, or don't want to know, that their daughter was under anesthetic at the same time, hoping that she had managed to arrange everything for her son. And I realized, it was a moment of no return. Late Friday afternoon, Liam fell asleep on the couch. I was sitting by the window with a cup of chamomile tea. A quiet, ordinary evening. For the first time in a week I felt calm. It was at this moment of calm that I heard a knock on the door. Solid. Persistent. 2 short strokes. Pause. Then another. My heart sank into my chest. I walked over. Through the peephole 2 familiar figures. Mom and Dad. They were standing there in their jackets carrying a paper bag and some kind of folder. I didn't open it right away. I was just looking. Why now? Why after a week of silence? And what did they bring in the bag? An apology? Or an excuse? I opened the door. They stood as if frozen. My mother was wearing a cream coat and carrying a crumpled folder. Dad was carrying a paper bag with bananas and oranges sticking out of it. Mom's smile wavered, as if she just realized this wasn't just a visit. This is a shamefaced intrusion. Hi, Sarah, she said softly. I was silent. She stood in the doorway, not moving. The draft from the house was blowing in her face, but I didn't invite them in. They exchanged glances. We want to talk. I stepped aside. Not out of kindness. Just so you don't have to stand outside the door to finish it faster. They went into the living room. Dad put the bag down on the table. Mom sat down slowly on the edge of the couch, as if she was afraid to disturb the air. How are you? Alive. Silence. Liam was sleeping in the other room. Only his soft breathing came through the open door. Sarah, Mom sighed. We've been rethinking a lot this week. Really? For this week? What about that night? That morning when I called you almost in a panic? She looked away. Dad took the floor. That was stupid. We were probably scared. Not a situation. It's because we don't know how to help. We both thought you could handle it. You always manage. You thought I could handle it, so you went to the concert. My mother shuddered. Dad squeezed his knees together. No one argued. We got the tickets back, Mom said after a pause. The money here. I took it. Inside was an envelope. I didn't count it. I just put it on the table. I canceled my transfers, I said calmly. And not because I'm taking revenge. I realized I'd been alone all this time. Financially, emotionally. You were just there because I pulled you along. And when all I needed was just to be, you weren't there. We made a mistake, Sarah, Mom said, looking up. But you do understand that we love you. And Liam. Love is a verb. This is an action. It's yes, of course I'll come. Hold on, daughter. Not we're on our way to the concert. Pause. A long one. I didn't cry. So are they? Just a silence that no one else could fill. What now? Dad asked quietly. I looked toward the bedroom, where my son was sleeping, where everything that mattered was now. You are no longer enemies. But it's not a family like it used to be. They left in silence. I didn't see him off. I just closed the door 2 turns. I went back to the bedroom. Liam turned slightly, muttering in his sleep. Mom, are you there? I sat down next to him and patted his head. Yes, kid. I'm here. And for the first time in a week I knew I could do it. Even if you're alone. Especially if you're alone. It's been a week since that night. The house was quiet as usual, but it was different. Not loud. Not dramatic. Changes came into my life like water seeping through a crack in glass. Invisible at first, but unstoppable. On Monday, I woke up before the alarm went off. Liam was still asleep, his face buried in the pillow, his arms spread out like a star. I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at him for about 10 minutes. I was just looking. Earlier, at times like this, I would have thought, I should call my mom, tell her how cute he looks. But not anymore. My thoughts didn't go there. They settled on me. You're here. You're a mom. You're doing fine. I made oatmeal and banana in the kitchen. Liam woke up laughing as always. Mom, I dreamed I was riding a pterodactyl. Where were you going? To kindergarten. But he was on a cloud. He laughed and ate his breakfast as he talked. And I listened. Completely. Without thinking about work. Without checking your email address. Just lived this morning. At work, I didn't tell anyone that I'd spent 3 days in the hospital. She said it was due to family circumstances. My colleagues didn't interfere. And I was grateful for that. At lunchtime, I went to the drugstore to buy a cream for my scar. The girl at the checkout asked, Operation? I nodded. Let it grow properly. Scars are a map of what you've done. And I thought, yes, this is a map. And I walk it alone for the first time with the certainty that I can. Then there were the evenings. Quiet, unhurried ones. Liam liked to turn on old cartoons and sit on the couch with a blanket and a stuffed crocodile. We ate ice cream from bowls, sometimes drawing, sometimes reading. On such evenings, I found myself feeling that silence was not the enemy. She no longer says to me, "You're alone." She says, "You're home." On Friday we went to the park. He rode the scooter with confidence, almost like an adult. I was sitting on a bench with my coffee and flipping through notes on my laptop. A woman sat down next to him with a child, also a boy. They were discussing who was faster, Cheetah or T-Rex. I couldn't help but smile. "T-Rex is strong, but Cheetah will win the sprint," I said. The woman looked at me and smiled. "Oh, thank you. We're having an argument." Caroline. Sarah. We started talking. Her husband left a year and a half ago. Without a scandal, he just disappeared like he disappeared into thin air. She works in a publishing house, pulls everything herself. He knows what it feels like to be the center of a little person's universe. I said, "I'm also alone. Since recently. Not because someone left. It's because I finally decided who should stay." She nodded. Very slowly. And suddenly she said, "You're not alone. You're with yourself. It's more than it looks." When we got home, Liam had fallen asleep on the couch, fully clothed with his crock in his arms. I covered him with a blanket, then sat down next to him. I opened my phone. There were 3 unread messages. One from work, one from a neighbor, and one from my mom. "We need to talk. Not like you. Not like Liam. Not sorry. Only, we need to talk." I put my phone on silent mode. I turned to Liam, who was sleeping. He whispered softly in his sleep, "Mom, are you there?" I took his hand in mine. "I'm here, kid. I'm always here." And for the first time I understood. I'm not just coping. I live. The email arrived a month later. Paper content. It was real, with a stamp and an address written in a hand I'd known since I was a child. My mother's neat handwriting, as if each letter was afraid of being misunderstood. I didn't open it right away. For several days, the envelope lay on the kitchen table, next to a bowl of oranges. I passed by morning, evening with Liam alone, and I couldn't bring myself to open it. He seemed alive. It was like opening it and everything would come back. But I didn't want to go back. On the 3rd night, when Liam fell asleep earlier than usual, I sat in the kitchen, made myself a lemon tea, turned on the night light, and opened the envelope. "Sarah, my father and I were thinking about the best way to say it. And yet we decided, in words that won't be interrupted by your silence or our awkwardness. We're sorry. This is not an excuse. That's just what's left. We didn't make it. You were in pain. We are afraid. We chose ourselves. They should have chosen you. We didn't realize that until the next day. And not even in a week. Came later when it was too late. We don't ask you to return what you gave us. The only thing we want back is to be able to be there for you if you want it. We love you. We didn't deserve a second chance. But we hope for it. Mom." I put the letter on the table and just sat there. I didn't cry. I wasn't angry. There was silence. Very deep. Then I picked up a piece of paper. Clean. I sat down and wrote back. By hand. Slowly, thinking about each word. "Mom, thank you for the letter. I read it. I believe you are truly sorry. But regret doesn't restore the bridges that you chose not to cross at the right moment. I don't hold a grudge. Honestly, I just don't see you as a support anymore. You were a part of my life. Important. But now I build my own without expectations, without the habit of turning around in your direction. I do not know if there will be anything else between us. I don't close the door. But it now opens from my side if and when I decide. Sarah." I sealed the letter. I took it to the post office. Sent it. No drama. No pause on the stairs. Another week passed. On Saturday morning, Liam and I went to the lake to catch the sun, throw rocks, and eat ice cream. He was carrying his small backpack with juice and a dinosaur, and I was carrying a blanket and a thermos of coffee. As he ran along the beach, I sat up and closed my eyes. I listened to the water lapping at my feet, the way the wind plays in my hair. As the sun touches the skin for real, And then I understood. This is not a story about betrayal. This is a story about choice. My choice. To be where I am loved is not out of habit, but out of action. And I chose myself. Not alone, but in integrity.